Is Saturday, November 8th, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland, and it's Friday the 7th back in California. I am glad that you're here with me for another episode of the biography in pictures of Master Empty Cloud. Now, we are in the United States. It is 6:30. I suspect a large number of our audience doesn't know that because of daylight savings, we're an hour earlier. Now, here in Australia, we're keeping the time the same. So folks on this side of the world, probably, we announced it last week, so people know there's no change. But in any case, we will talk to those of you who are here and be telling these wonderful stories about our teacher's teacher, our grand teacher, Master Empty Cloud. So, welcome to our series. We've got some amazing stories tonight about the power of virtue to not only teach the Dharma, but also to save lives and change the course of society. That's the power of virtue. All right, now today, Vera is going to be our Dharma requester all the way from Brazil. So what I'm going to do is ring the bell 3 times and make 3 half bows, invite you to join me if you care to do so. And then Vera is going to do our Dharma request. Okay, so hold on. Okay, here comes the bell. Are we ready to bow? Here we go. 一问讯，再问讯，三问讯, 3 bows. Okay, Vera, if you would like to request Dharma, please go ahead and do it now.
恭敬大德圣体，为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮教导我们，如何了生脱悉离苦得乐，速证无生。View the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto sucedoye alahadi samya samputoshe.
Namo sadanto sucedoye alahodi samyao samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Okay, Vera, thank you for the Dharma request. Appreciate that. Delighted to get the chance to dig into this material and share these stories with all of you. So we are going to proceed with our liturgy that begins. First thing that we do after the Dharma request is acknowledge country. And we want to respectfully acknowledge the Kombu-Meri people of the Ugambe language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 那就是说，我们恭敬地承认Ugambe语族的孔布马里人是我们寺院这里这个 GCDR 冷眼圣寺，我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Okay, there we go. Let's proceed. Next in line, we have the bell song, traditional way to begin a Dharma talk. Here we go. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺厚德。Okay, we have a big event happening here at GCDR, and we've begun last night. So there's a bunch of new friends who we're welcoming here in person. This is a Guanyin Bodhisattva retreat here at the Gold Coast, and it's the first major event that's going to be primarily in English. So lots of excitement here. And following the Guanyin retreat, we've got a Shurangama mantra retreat as well, which is pretty rare and special. But we'll get into that a little later. So because our weekly regular fearless corresponding secretary, Chanyu, is on her way from Brisbane, she should be arriving here in person in a few moments. So Yihuan is our host today. She is regular and knows exactly what to do. Appreciate our translator, Cliff, and also our Vietnamese translator. And 如果你们各位愿意听一种流利的普通话，那么那个软件的右下角有一个叫 interpretation， 你们看到了没有？一个小地球啊，那个就有 Chinese， 就是中文。你如果 click 在那里就可以听到我们的义工帮你翻译普通话。Also in the chat box, you'll find a link to our Vietnamese translation. So please go there, and yeah, doesn't that bell sound good? Yeah, Alec is back in Singapore. This is a wonderful Japanese bell that I got in last time I was in Taipei, and it is a very pure sound indeed. So let's see, Chanyu is in a car on the road from Brisbane, be here soon. Alec is in Singapore, Amara is in Malaysia, Aurora is here from Sydney, Baulak is here in Brisbane, Brian is there from Campbell, California, Connie's here from Santa Clara. Mr. Ni is in Heilongjiang, Duc Leban's in Montreal, La Belle Province du Québec. Edward is here in Hoa Nguyen. Thank you to our Vietnamese translators, team here. Jan is here in Oregon, Jason in Northern California. Other places, we've got Los Altos, Jakarta, Indonesia. Johan is here from Malaysia. Joy is here from Calgary, Alberta. Kelly is in the Bay Area. Kevin's here in the Gold Coast listening in. Hi, everybody. Liz is here in New York City's Chinatown. Loya is listening from Singapore. Mai is in the Bay Area. The other Mai is in Los Angeles. Michael's in St. Petersburg, the other side of the country. Peggy is here from Calgary. Sangfu is Elk Grove. Tina in Oklahoma. Tranwin is here. Okay. Glad you're all here. Wumbo is with us. Willie is in Virginia. Bill is in Colorado. Xingfei and Bernie are here. Welcome. Regular every week. Dharma friends. Okay, then we switch over to the other side of the planet, and we have listeners here from Wenguhua, Heilongjiang, Beijing, Shandong, Jilin, Liaoning, Xini, Tianjin, Heilongjiang, Xi'an, 哪里？还有浙江兰溪 ，OK， 浙江兰海，什么地方？陕西宝鸡 ，OK， 吉林、黑龙江、北京，天气冷的地方大家喜欢听法，奇怪，北京、哈尔滨，那难怪台湾那么少。不是，我们不是比多，不是我们种植不重量啊。哈尔滨，所以你诚信那就算 OK。哈尔滨、珠海、黑龙江、哈尔滨，哪里？还有河南。Okay, so welcome everybody. Glad you're all here. We remarked that a remarkable number of folks are coming from very cold climates, way up in northeast China, up near Korea and Russia. Of course, that having Master Hua be someone from Heilongjiang, I think, from northeastern China, from Dongbei, that counts. So right there on my screen, you're looking at an image of Guanyin Bodhisattva here at Gold Coast Dharma Realm, and she is the spirit of the retreat that we have going this week. But the point of our series, the reason we come together for an hour every week at this time, is because of a different monk, our grand teacher, our teacher's teacher, Master Empty Cloud. And when he entered Nirvana in 1959, Master Xuanhua, our founder, our teacher, found an artist and commissioned that artist to draw an image to illustrate 200 episodes from the life story of this monk. 200 episodes, you think that's a lot. Well, balance that with the fact that he lived to be 120. He lived 120 years. This picture was taken when he was 118, sitting in full lotus on a meditation bench, looking like he's made out of stainless steel or titanium. So that artist drew 200 illustrations to accompany 200 episodes from his very eventful life. Master Hua then wrote a verse to set off, to kind of summarize and give his perspective on the significance of that episode. And the stories, the pictures, and the verses became what's known as the picture biography of Master Empty Cloud. And that's what we are explaining every week. He's now 70 plus years old. The year is 1911, and something very eventful happened in 1911 in Chinese history, which was the last Chinese emperor stepped down off the throne, abdicated, and said, I'm done, that's it. 5,000 years of the Chinese dynastic cycle came to an end, and the Republic of China was born in 1911. In the hands of Sun Zhongshan, Sun Yat-sen, but whenever something that stable and huge comes to an end, in its wake is absolute chaos and turmoil. That was the case in China. And that leads us to today's series of stories. Here's the story and the illustration and the verse. It's episode 151, so we're 3/4 of the way through our book. It's Ganyuan Xie Hui Fo Si, facing danger when Commander Gunyuan begins to destroy Buddhist monasteries. 72 years old monk, 1911, and here we go. Xinhai Goming, Xuan Tong Xun Wei, Dao Chu Hui Si Chai Miao, Mie Xiang Zhu Sang, Dian Sheng Xie Tong, Li Gunyuan 领导军队毁向差寺，杀生屠尼，有以供乃穷和尚，竟能深得民心，群众拥护，岂非怪事？古之民不知，或将不免，为乎哉？ The Chinese Revolution began in 1911. The last Manchu emperor, Shentong, Henry Puyi, abdicated the throne. Monasteries and temples everywhere were laid waste. Images were destroyed. Members of the Sangha were expelled. The Yunnan provincial commander, Li Gunyuan, led his infantry in the destruction of monasteries and statues, murdering bhikshus and butchering bhikshunis. The master was a poor monk. It seemed unlikely to Li that he could profoundly win the heart of the masses of ordinary people and be venerated and protected by them. So the commander ordered his arrest, setting the stage for a crisis. Okay, that's our story. So let me go through it bit by bit here. So 1911, Chinese Revolution began, the creation of the Republic of China. And in Taiwan, Taiwan has a special calendar, and it begins 1911. So they say Minguo Doshao. Minguo, so this is Minguo Di, Minguo Yinian. Is that what they say? Minguo Yinian. 1911 is the first year of the Republic. So the calendar begins again. In Taiwan, that's how you count what year it is. The last Manchu emperor, Shentong, the Qing dynasty. This was the Qing dynasty itself was, of course, highly controversial because the Qings were Manchurians. They weren't Han Chinese, the way the Ming dynasty and the Yuan. Well, the Yuan was also Mongols. Before that was the Sung, that was Han. So who was on the throne in the imperial city, in the forbidden city in Beijing, was always highly contested, and oceans of blood were spilled in the handing on of the dynasties. So the last Manchu emperor, Emperor Shentong, who was emperor, he was a child when the Empress Dowager passed away 3 years earlier, Cixi, who was the power behind the throne. So why was the fall of the political system a reason to destroy Buddhism? The reason being that, I'll answer my own question. The reason being, Buddhism at that point was corrupt. It was in a sad state. And Master Empty Cloud, as we've been hearing in the last 4 or 5 weeks, he single-handedly reformed Buddhism in the far southwest, in Yunnan province. And he was a bright light, bringing the Dharma back to respect among the people, because people were actually cultivating. He transmitted precepts to 1,000 new monks and nuns, and he had a 49-day Chan session. That was our lecture last week, having a Chan meditation session after the precept transmission. And there were miracles happening. The Udumbara flower, this flower that only blooms rarely when somebody is virtuous, bloomed on chestnut trees. So it's the proper Dharma age where Master Empty Cloud is. Elsewhere in the Buddhist world, it's pretty much the Dharma ending age. And so as a result of this, the Buddhism was deeply disrespected. So monasteries and temples were destroyed, images were burned, melted back for metal. Members of the Sangha were defrocked, were kicked out of the Sangha, And not only that, there was bloodshed. This man, Li Gunyuan, who was we're going to learn a lot about him. He led his soldiers onto Jizushan and just said, burn it down, kill the monks, kill the nuns. So everybody pretty much knew the name Shuyun, empty cloud, and yet he was just this old skinny monk and didn't seem to be a threat. So somebody said, if you really want to destroy Buddhism, you got to destroy Master Empty Cloud. So he became a target. Here the monks are up on Jizushan at Zhusheng Monastery, watching the smoke and hearing the noise as the still cavalry, the infantry still had horses, were coming up the road to arrest Master Empty Cloud. Okay, so there's the picture, right? Danger. This is a bad scene. So the verse goes, 诸寺僧逃公不然，如鼠夜报何必焉？以身殉佛比丘之，众乐成福愿患难. All the monks fled their monasteries, yet the master remained. Who can escape their karmic retribution? A bhikshu would willingly sacrifice himself for the Buddha. People happily followed him. They endured hardships gladly. Now, here's, as we've been saying all along, the text that Master Xuanhua used to extract the stories, and he's got, this much space to tell these super chaotic, significant events. So he's got to be terse. He has to squeeze it way down, and a lot of the story is left behind. He can't tell all the details. There's not enough room. So we get a little bit of the poem. Sometimes Shifu uses the verse to add more details. This is one of those times. What was going on were the monks were fleeing. The monks were running. They could be killed. They could be imprisoned. They could be have their robes pulled off them. Their monasteries were being burned. So the monks ran, and they said to Master Empty Cloud, Shifu, you have to run too. Save your life, flee. Empty Cloud said, not me. I'm not going to do that. So who are we talking about? We're talking about this guy. Li Gunyuan. Li Gunyuan was a native of Kunming. He was, you could see, a strong leader, charismatic, wanted early on to become a soldier. He was interested in military. He got a scholarship to go to Japan to attend a military college. So he was trained in the military traditions of Japan while being a patriotic Chinese. Now, who else went to Japan to flee the chaos or to study? People such as Sun Yat-sen, Sun Zhongshan. So there was a huge number of Chinese expats who escaped the chaos after the fall of the dynasty, because it's just, warlords fighting and people slaughtering each other. So he went to get an education. He was there with a good reason, with a good excuse for being there. And he wasn't just avoiding trouble, he was getting trained. Here he is, Li Gunyuan. And so he made lots of buddies, lots of friends, and they created a group called the Tongmenghui, which was the core of what became the Republic of China. The Old Boys Network that they created and their fellowship after they returned to China from Japan in the next 3 and 4 years became the core of the new regime that was struggling in China to create a monarchy, There was someone named Yuan Shikai, who wanted to be set up as a constitutional monarchy. Well, do you empower all the people to make it a democracy? Is that possible in China? Well, they discovered that it wasn't. So mostly everybody's just fighting with each other. And Li Gunyuan was one of the primary combatants, or in fact, because of his education and because he was a virtuous man and an intellectual at the same time, he rose to prominence, and people depended upon him for advice. Now, he was a fellow Yunnan native, so after there was something called the Wuchang incident in Wuhan, China, where the republic was established. Sun Zhongshan sent Li Gunyuan out to say, we are proclaiming a Republic of China. And in the process of doing that, what did he do? I'm going to clean up Buddhism. Uh-oh. So this is the guy. He's no joke. He's a serious, trained, intellectual, military historian, and strong character. So this is the background for the stories that we're hearing. Now, interestingly, because we have this document, this is the Nianpu. This is the, here we go. This is the autobiography of Master Empty Cloud. And what do we have here? We have the details. This is the color filling in for the black and white that Master Empty Cloud left behind. Look at the bare details that we get. Here it is. Okay, what was the big event of this year? Oh, Japan destroyed Korea. That was a big event, 1911, going on the other side of the China Sea. It was the third year of the Xuantong and the last Xinhai, famous date, the Xinhai Revolution, and he is 72 years old. He says, it's spring, Chun, Chuanjie Qi Ho. We finished transmitting precepts, Jie Chanqi 49 tian. We did a 49-day Chan retreat. Ji Chang Zuo Xiang. We sat to the incense, the way, let's see, there's translation here. Sitting meditation was encouraged. Summer rains retreat was observed. Let's do the Chinese first, and then we'll come back. 节下安居，一切法事至9月，武汉革命传至田中，地方大乱，宾川县宾川县城被围，集体依照大祸。与调解之右同病官李根源因误会，派兵围鸡足山。我为解释，引兵去。且皈依三宝. Okay, look at what Master Empty Cloud gives us. He says, this is how brief he wraps up these monumental events in a couple lines. Let me show you. We sat in meditation, the summer rains retreat, where the monks stay together for a month, 3 months. We followed all the prescribed monastic procedures. In other words, the right Dharma has returned to Yunnan because of Master Empty Cloud. By September, the rains retreat is over, the monks are back on the roads. News of the Wuhan Revolution reached Yunnan. The region fell into great disorder. The county seat of Binchuan was besieged, and a major catastrophe nearly occurred. I mediated the conflict. 4 words. Shifu gives 4 episodes of the picture biography explaining. Later, the military commander Li Gunyuan, due to a misunderstanding, sent troops to surround Jizu Mountain. Yeah, I would call burning monasteries and slaughtering monks and nuns a misunderstanding. He says, due to the misunderstanding, I went to explain the situation, led the troops away. Li Gunyuan led the troops away. He took refuge with Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. That's a big turnaround, right? That's like, let's let's listen. Can you tell us how that happened? What are you talking about here? So he says, 辩者, this is a statement by the later editor of the autobiography. He says, 诗口述年谱中，只此寥寥数语。辩者曾阅田南记事，记载神详，可见诗之德良也。别记如下。He says, in the master's own dictated chronology, only these few words appear. The editor, however, has read the record of events in southern Yunnan, the official history of this time in this place, where the account is given in far greater detail. From this, one may see the master's great virtue and capacity. The more detailed record is given separately below. Besides his efforts to spread the Dharma and benefit beings throughout Yunnan, the master also averted several major disasters through invisible, that is to say, virtue. A few examples are given below. All right? So take a look what follows. This is, you can see these are the accounts. And we're going to go through them because they are astonishing. And they reveal the power of personal virtue. If you really cultivate the way on the bodhisattva path, that is to say, he's an example of how you meditate, how you bow, how you praise, how you serve as a field of blessings. But if you're a monk the way Master Empty Cloud defines and models for us, you get involved. You go out into the world at huge personal risk, and the result is lives are saved. And I'll let the stories tell themselves. Okay, here's from this, Master Hua got, for the sake of the picture biography, this episode. Okay, so Li Gunyuan, never having met Master Empty Cloud, says, arrest that monk. We're going to settle Buddhism. Okay, he's got no knowledge of Buddhism whatsoever. He just knows the reputation is Buddhism is corrupt. So he's going to clean it up. The title, 树与化凶为吉, changing misfortune to auspiciousness with a few words. Okay, here we go. 协同率兵驻西坛寺，会尽顶基，足大王铜像，诸天佛殿，供给下山见，卫兵士工，劝勿入，切记不要了。速逃恭经入，见礼与赵藩坐，公至礼。礼怒曰：“佛教何用？有何益？”公曰：“圣人设教，总以济世利民，与其出击，为善去恶。” The provincial commander, that's Li Gunyuan, stationed his troops at Shitan Monastery. So he turned the monastery into a camp, a military camp. They proceeded to destroy the copper images of the great kings on Chickenfoot Mountain's Golden Peak, followed by the Buddha Hall and the Hall of the Devas. So they're just destroying the monastery. The master hurried down the mountain to witness these actions. Guards who recognized him urged him, go no further, don't go down there, they'll kill you. They begged him to escape while he still could. The master persevered anyway and greeted Commander Li and Zhao Fan when he met them. Li angrily asked, "What good is Buddhism? What benefit does it bring?" Betraying his attitude, right? Calmly, the master replied, "Sages establish their teachings to save the world and to benefit its citizens. Their basic teachings exhort us to do good and turn from evil." Okay, that's the opening exchange of their conversation. He goes on to say, here's the picture. here's the warlord. He's portrayed as being overweight. That's not my impression of the photograph. This is an artist in 1959, 60 years or 40 years after the event. He says, 从古政教并行，正以其民，教义化民，佛教教人治心，心为万物之本，本得其正，万物得以宁，而天下太平。理四季，以手指佛像。Master Hua continued, from ancient times to the present, the government and the Dharma work together in complementary ways. Good government brings order to the people. The Dharma teaches them to change their thinking. Buddhism teaches us how to effectively regulate our minds, which is the basis of all the myriad things. If you set the foundation straight, all things will be at ease. There will be peace under heaven. Hearing this, Li's fierce anger ebbed as he held out a hand to the Buddha image. Okay, now, because there are 4 episodes in this conversation, Shifu didn't do a verse for the next 2. He said, 化凶为吉矣. He changed misfortune to auspiciousness. Okay, so what did he say? He said calmly, it specifies that his answer. Li is saying, you're a waste of time, you're wasting money, what good are you? And the cloud says, well, actually, he says, government and Dharma work hand in hand. It's like, what? How? So he explains, he says, good government brings things in order. The Dharma teaches people inside to change their thinking. Once our minds are regulated, then all things are at ease. There's peace under heaven. Because Li Gunyuan is a remarkable man. He is truly a leader for the time, right? He's intellectual, he's well-trained, he's got what are called good roots. He has Foyuan. This man has Buddhist affinities, right? Okay, next one. We're going right through them. Here we go. 片言改恶向善. With a few more words, he changed good to evil. 又曰，要这泥塑木雕，做么空费钱财？公曰：佛言法相，相亦表法，不亦相表，于法不彰，令人起敬畏之心耳。人心若无敬畏，无恶不作，无作不恶，祸乱已成，泥山肃圣，丁兰刻木，中国祠堂，各国同乡，无非令人心有所归，起其敬心，功效不可思议。The commander further asked, what use are these clay and wooden statues? How are they not just a waste of money? So he's got another challenge, right? A little bit of hostility here. The master answered, the Buddha said images of the Dharma are merely symbols. They represent the Dharma. If you have nothing to symbolize the teachings, then the Dharma will never grow. Moreover, those symbols create an attitude of reverence and awe in the viewer. If people have nothing to respect, they're capable of all manner of evil deeds. Without models of good behavior, then calamities and chaos can result. On Niqiu Mountain, people carved a statue of the sage Confucius. Dinglan sculpted a wooden image of his deceased parents. Images like these on China's ancestral altars and images made of bronze from overseas serve as a place of reliance for people's thoughts. They can foster an attitude of reverence, the effect of which on the mind is inconceivable, right? So now in this answer, we get the mark of eloquence. This is an eloquent Chinese speaker always uses diangu. He cites historical precedent, right? So he says, oh, Confucius, there was an image of Confucius on Niqiu Mountain. Ding Lan is one of the 24 xiao. He's one of the 24 paragons of filial respect. And his parents died, and he carved an image of his mom and his dad out of wood and made offerings to them every day on the ancestral altar. He married a wife who was unfilial, and she one day, she was resenting her husband's attention to these statues. She cut one with a knife, and it bled. The statue bled. And Ding Lan came home and saw it. He was so angry, he divorced his wife on the spot. So that was that. So a perfect, powerful citation of a past precedent for the warlord to pay attention, right? He says images like these all over China on ancestral altars give your thoughts a place to rely. You have an attitude of reverence, and it's really good for the mind. Okay. What's more, 与其及子若见诸相非相，即见如来，理现月容，呼具茶点，请坐谈. He says, now, if you want to take it on a higher level, if you can see how everything with characteristics exists in a realm beyond what the senses can perceive, then you see the Buddha. So Master Empty Cloud is not holding back. He's giving, I'm sure he's seeing the potential in Li Gunyuan. So he's taken him all the way from, you got to teach people to be reverent some way with something in front of them. So put an image on the altar. It works. He says, then they feel respect. And then he says, however, from the point of view of the Dharma, you don't want to attach to appearances, because ultimately anything with characteristics comes together by conditions and is false. Li Gunyuan, the warlord, hears this, smiles. He says, this is kind of interesting. Bring on some cakes and tea. We're going to talk. So here they are. Here's the image. He's toasting the master, right? So in a few lines of conversation, Master Empty Cloud touches his heart and completely turns him away from his previous belligerence and murderous attitude, thinking that the Dharma was just a corruption. Okay, there we go. I said Ding Lan's wife cut the image. No, she poked it with a needle. She poked as a joke, she poked a needle into the figure of the statues, and the statue bled. Ding Lan comes home and says, oh, the images are crying. He divorced his wife. Shifu's verse, 改恶向善. He changed evil into good. One more. We're going to do it all today. Okay. 领教肃立敬礼. Upon hearing the teachers, the commander, deeply impressed, bowed in respect. Here we go. 礼曰：昔如和尚不良和。公曰：僧有圣凡，不能见一二不肖而弃，岂因一二不肖秀才？骂孔子，即先生统兵。虽俊既严明，其意一一皆如先生之聪明正直乎？ He says, 还不弃余下，所以为大者也。 Li said, all right, what about all these monks who misbehave, the ones I've been hearing about? Master Empty Cloud says, members of the Sangha come from society. Society includes people who are both virtuous and common. You can't look at a few individuals who are worthless and because of them discredit everyone else. He goes on to say, the presence of one or two unworthy scholars is not a reason to revile Confucius. He goes on to say, you, sir, are a commander of soldiers. Although your military discipline is strict, the troops are all individuals. Do you expect all of them to be as intelligent and forthright as you? A little bit of diplomacy here, right? One reason why we call the ocean great is because it doesn't reject even fish or shrimp. Okay? Skillful skillful debate tactics, making the case that, yeah, there are a few rotten monks. The Sangha as a whole is a valuable resource for the country and for the world. So there he is. Here's Shifu's verse. 佛法性海五不容，桑弘盛化用弥穷，协同令教肃然立，敬礼立正又屈躬。The sea-like nature of the Buddha Dharma includes all things. The Sangha propagates the sage's teachings, its functions infinite. The provincial commander respectfully stood to hear the teachings. He bowed down in respect, stood up, and bowed once more. Now, here is Bingquan County. This is where this is taking place. Here's China. Okay, we're in the far southwest. Beijing is up here, Shandong is up here, Shanghai is, here's Zhejiang, Shanghai is here, here's Taiwan. Okay, so this is Yunnan. This dot is what we're looking at. The capital is Kunming over here. Okay, this is Binquan. Jizushan, Chickenfoot Mountain, is right here. So Master Empty Cloud, when he heard that the army was marching, he ran down and met with the warlord here. Okay, now I want people to see. Here is the more or less official biography of Li Gunyuan, and it says that the Wuchang Rebellion, which established the Republic of China in Wuhan, and then out in Yunnan as well, happened in 1911. It says, the official biography, the way it says, a Republican government was established in Yunnan, Li Gunyuan as head of the military department. When the Kuomintang was established in 1912, he became head of the party's Yunnan branch headquarters. And part of his job was to become superintendent and take care of the Buddhists. Okay, now turns out that this was such a turbulent time that Li Gunyuan retired from public life to his home in Suzhou in 1927. He became an increasingly devout Buddhist. Why? Because of his encounter with Master Empty Cloud. Okay, so there he is. And I think this is a fascinating story about how in the Mahayana tradition, in the Bodhisattva path, that's our school, Buddhists don't merely retire from the world. Had Master Empty Cloud run when the word came that the army was destroying the monasteries, setting up camp inside a destroyed monastery, then Li Gunyuan would have gone on to basically purge Buddhism in Yunnan. But instead, Master Empty Cloud went right down into his face. He got into his face and said, hello, I'm here to meet you and to ask you to please stop burning monasteries and killing monks. And luckily, the conversation was recorded. We can take this as factual. This is what this encounter is considered to be authentic. Now, what's much more interesting, however, and Master Empty Cloud deals with it in a few lines. He says, the military commander, due to a misunderstanding, sent his troops. I went to explain it. The troops were led away and he took refuge. We want to hear the details, right? So starting next week, we're going to go into the details that Shifu, with his 4 episodes recording the conversation, don't even account. So we hear, for example, I'll give you a taste of it, all right? Just a little bit here. Let's see here, we'll go down to公于田真弘法度生外 Let's see now. 有术士迷居幻欲无心者，略具如此。宣通末年，宾泉县和宾章某章杀人，经汉喜事，宾泉多道，张琼治之，杀戮神众，而厌一章，且结党会，徒身为保家计，是瓜名会既求免，仗义穷治之。举山僧不法者，亦去捕数十人，独以公家亦经理。Okay. At the end of the Shentong reign, the magistrate of Binchuan County, Zhang, we haven't met him. He's the magistrate. He's the local Binchuan County official, and our Li Gunyuan is the whole province, okay? He was originally from Changsha. He was a bold, energetic man, fond of action. So the magistrate, he's basically the police chief of Binchuan. Binchuan was plagued by bandits. And because the official government has collapsed, nobody's taking care of the bandits. Zhang pursued them relentlessly, executing many. So this is the police chief who stepped in after the imperial government collapsed. Yet the unrest only worsened. Furthermore, secret societies formed, and the local gentry, fearing for their families, enrolled in these groups merely to seek protection. So what is this? This is to say the local mafia, the Tangs, right? The local warlords, the really local, like the local gang chiefs, said, we will protect you, pay us. So they paid protection money. The local gentry who could afford it would sign on to the local gang leaders. Zhang, the police chief, investigated this as well and arrested even the unoffending. So he put out a dragnet, put everybody in jail. When some monks on Jizu Shan, Chickenfoot Mountain, Master Empty Cloud, broke the precepts, he arrested dozens of monks. Only towards the master did he show respect. Okay, Cliff, can you do me a favor and read this quickly? I want real Chinese here, not my imitation. So, starting, let's see, what was it? Shu Shiren. Here we go. It was right here. Xinhai Goming.
辛亥革命是起宾川先响应，群公县属张坚守，无外援，杜必死。公下山易县，违者见公来曰：“此张某恶疾，以公诱之出，杀之，以平众愤。”公为，即见群众中为首如前。公曰：“杀张某不难，但边地谣传，大事未安。汝等围城法官，上有之救兵来，汝等击焚矣。”为曰：“奈何？”公曰：“吾闻大理距此仅2日程，前四川布政使王公贤明至彼，汝等枉诉其罪，则张死于法，而汝等亦无罪。”
Okay, a little more. We're almost there. Just down to there. That was Gong Wei Zhi right there. Kui Wei Zhi.
继续吗？
Yeah, continue. Do the whole thing.
为会之顿兵蜀外，公入蜀，见 见张配枪，将出应礼。建功握手曰：“吾复议，将以遗骸累东，唯我于居足山夫一胚土足矣。”公曰：“木然。此间尸身以张敬轩得人望，请来。”敬轩之一敬，群众果退。敬轩亦大礼武王，公以兵至，为随解。张去县，滇以独立。蔡锷任滇都督。张子某为外交司长，锷之学也。事后，张以警告公谢曰：“公非图救武生，切造福宾川，不然杀父之仇，吾子能不报哉？此于是也，犹要舍。”
Okay, so what is this? This is the continuing story of the police chief, the magistrate Zhang, who is fearless and is determined to subdue the bandits. These are not military, neither provincial or statewide or national. They're just bandits. So the government has collapsed, and so everybody is on their own. Now, what did he do? He overreacted. He arrested too many people, trying to pacify the bandits. When the Xinhai Revolution broke out, Bin Chuan was among the first to respond. Crowds attacked the county office. They want to overthrow the imperial, anything that has to do with the empire. They want revolution. Zhang, the police chief, held his post firmly with no outside aid, certain of death. The master went down the mountain hearing about this. Empty Cloud came down again to save the life of the police chief. Seeing him arrive, the besiegers said, "This Zhang is guilty of great evil. Bring him out, kill him. Well, we need him dead." The master nodded in assent. Okay, sure. But then when he met the rebel leaders, he said, "Killing Zhang was easy, but the empire is unsettled, the whole country. In the borderlands, rumors fly. If you besiege the city and kill an official, they're going to send the military. You will be crushed to powder," right? So he knows how to get into the head of the rebels, who are just ordinary people who are trying to get with the rebellion. The leader says, "What should we do, Shifu?" He says, "I've heard that there's a guy named Wang, former Sichuan provincial treasurer, who's in Dali, which is 2 days from here. Go and tell them that Zhang is a bad guy. He's arrested too many people. Then they will punish Zhang. You won't be guilty of a crime. The emperor, when the government's back, they won't send you." Of course, what government troops? They don't know that there are none. So Empty Cloud is little white lie, putting some ideas in heads. The leader agreed. He ordered the troops to stand down. He saved the life of the policeman. The master entered the office. Zhang, pistol in hand, was about to go out and die in a blaze of glory. Seeing the master, he put his palms together and said, "I'm going to go die for righteousness. Please bury my body at your monastery beneath a handful of earth." Shifu said, "No need for that. The local gentry hold Zhang Jingxuan in high regard. Let's invite him." So get another guy who they like. Jingxuan came. They talked it over. The crowd dispersed. Jingxuan, it's not clear who he is, this new Jingxuan, Zhang Jingxuan, went to Dali and he met Wang, who sent troops. The siege was lifted. Zhang left the county. Soon Yunnan declared independence. Cai E was the governor. Zhang's son became head of the Foreign Affairs Department. He had been Cai's classmate. So these are individuals we don't need to investigate, but they're related. So Zhang, the police chief, didn't die. His son goes out to become an important official. Later, Zhang wrote to thank the master, "You not only saved my life, but you brought fortune to Binchuan County. Otherwise, could my son have failed to avenge his father's death? My son definitely would have. If I'd died, he would have lost his life trying to avenge me. Thank you, Master Empty Cloud." Right? So I tell you, this, not simple, huh? Pretty amazing. So to be continued next week, we have more stories of our teacher that he himself didn't bother to talk about because why? He's modest. He's no big deal, you know, no big deal. So, pretty amazing. Here we go. Let's dedicate merit. Thank you all for joining. Don't miss next week. And tell everybody that it's 6:30 in California, not 7:30, right? We'll use Medicine Buddha's mantra to send out goodness for the further adventures of our grand teacher, Master Empty Cloud. One moment, not yet. Hold on there. Make it a little bigger. Ready? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vaidurya Prabhavarajaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya We'll finish by bowing to Guanyin Bodhisattva. Here we go. Make 3 bows. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us for today. See you all next week. Amitofo, 6:30 in California. Bye-bye.
So next class we will be hearing in person also.
Sounds good. You're welcome. Pleasure.